Good evening and welcome. Tonight we have a scary story about a mysterious Airbnb experience. When I was reading this story, I thought I knew where it was going, but I turned out to be wrong and delightfully surprised. I hope you are too. And if you like the story, thank the author, Scared Sorbet 4483, by dropping a like. Now, get ready for an Airbnb experience I'll never forget. The city had been suffocating me. The constant noise, the never-ending hustle, and the relentless pressure. They were all taking a toll on my mental health. I was just 32, but I felt decades older. So I decided to escape to a place where silence was the loudest noise, where the pace of life was dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. I found a quaint little Airbnb in the countryside, an idyllic log cabin surrounded by acres of dense woods, far away from the maddening crowd. To be honest, it seemed like a dream, but little did I know, it was a nightmare in disguise. Upon my arrival, the cabin appeared as charming as the pictures, rustic, isolated, and peaceful. But as soon as the sun began to set, the cabin started revealing its true colors. At first, it was little things. The way the wooden floor creaked under my feet, even when I was standing still. The peculiar smell that lingered in the air. Sweet, yet metallic. The way the wind howled through the trees, almost like a mournful cry. Then I started noticing the oddities. The mirrors in the cabin didn't reflect my image correctly. My reflection was always slightly delayed, as if there was another person mimicking my movements. The paintings on the walls seemed to shift when I looked away, their subjects twisting into grotesque figures. As the night fell, I heard whispers, soft, eerie whispers that seemed to come from the walls. They spoke of sorrow, of loss, and of something darker that I dared not contemplate. Then came the figure. Every night at the stroke of midnight, I could see it in the window, a silhouette standing in the woods, watching. It was always there, unmoving, just watching. Despite the terror that gripped me, I couldn't bring myself to leave. It was as if the cabin had ensnared me in its eerie charm. Every day, I would tell myself, that's it, I'm leaving tomorrow. But when tomorrow came, I found myself drawn further into the mystery of the cabin. What is this place? What secrets does it hold? Why does it not let me go? The questions consumed me, fueling my curiosity and fear in equal measure. But I was determined to uncover the truth, or be consumed by it. Days turned into weeks. I found myself weirdly drawn deeper into the hypnotic rhythm of the cabin. The whispers grew louder. The figure in the woods seemed closer, and the cabin's oddities became more pronounced. One day, I found a trap door under a worn-out rug. It led to a basement I hadn't known existed. The air was damp, filled with the scent of old earth and something else, a smell that made my stomach churn. It was the same sweet yet metallic smell I'd noticed when I first arrived. In the dim light, I could see something etched into the stone walls. Symbols, old and unfamiliar, crisscrossed the surface in a pattern that made my head spin. The same symbols were carved into a wooden pedestal at the center of the room, upon which sat an old, leather-bound book. As I approached the book, the whispers grew into a cacophony. I could hear distinct words now, a chant, repeating the same phrase over and over. I couldn't understand it, but I felt a pull, a compulsion to open the book. With trembling hands, I opened it. The pages were yellowed with age, covered in the same symbols from the walls. But there, in the middle of the book, was a picture that made my blood freeze. It was the cabin, and standing by the window was a figure, that same figure I saw every night. But in the book, the figure wasn't outside the cabin. It was inside, staring directly at me. I recoiled in horror, dropping the book. There was silence, but I could feel a presence behind me. I didn't want to turn around, didn't want to see what I knew was there, yet I had to. I turned around, and there it was, the figure. It was no longer a silhouette, but a clear, ghastly apparition. It was as if someone had taken a snapshot of despair and molded it into a humanoid shape. It reached out for me with a hand that was both there and not. My instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. I was a statue, a prisoner of my own fear. The apparition's hand touched my face. It was ice cold, yet it burned. As it did, I felt a wave of emotions flood into me. Sadness, anger, fear, despair. These weren't my emotions. They were its. Suddenly, I was somewhere else. I was still in the cabin, but it was different. Alive, filled with people. I was seeing through someone else's eyes, feeling their emotions, living their memories. I was the apparition. I saw the cabin as it was. Not a building, but a prison. A place of punishment for those who dared to challenge the natural order. The apparition, I realized, was not a ghost, but a prisoner, trapped in the cabin for an eternity. The memories became darker, filled with pain and sorrow. I felt every moment of the apparition's loneliness, every second of its despair. It was too much. I screamed, or at least I thought I did. The next thing I knew, I was back in the basement, the apparition gone. I left the cabin the next morning. As I walked away, I could still feel its gaze on me, but it was different. It was no longer a gaze of menace, but of gratitude. I had shared its pain, its solitude. I had given it something that it hadn't had in a long time. Company. As I left, I glanced back one last time. There, in the window, stood the figure, watching me leave. But this time, it wasn't alone. Standing next to it was another figure, a familiar one. It was me. I had left the cabin, but a part of me would always remain, trapped in the eerie solitude, forever sharing the cabin's haunting secret. Update: I've been back in the city a few weeks now. The noise, the chaos, it's all the same, but I'm different. The cabin changed me in ways I'm still trying to understand. Every night I dream of the cabin, of the figure in the window, but it's not a nightmare. It's almost comforting. It's a strange feeling of being connected to something so far away, so different from my own reality. I've started writing. I felt a compulsion to share my experiences, to tell the world about the cabin and its prisoner. Reddit seemed like the right place. The stories seem to resonate with people. They're drawn to the fear, the mystery, the unknown. But for me, it's more than just stories. It's catharsis. It's a way for me to understand what happened, to make sense of my encounter with the supernatural. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the story, please hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.